Brooke, he does want to win, and not simply because of the Alabama Senate race, but certainly the urgency is certainly increased because of that.
Here
but
he is,
simply,
Jeff.
we see the president walking in there to the East Room, to the grand foyer there, to talk about taxes.
Let's listen.
We're joined today by college students, young entrepreneurs, families, workers, mothers, and fathers from all over our nation. You make this country run. It's an honor to be with you, and it's an honor to have you at the White House, and thank you all for being here. Really fantastic. Thank you. Great people. As a candidate, I promised we would pass a massive tax cut for the everyday working American families who are the backbone and the heartbeat of our country. Now we're just days away, I hope, you know what that means, right? From keeping that promise and delivering a truly amazing victory for American families. We want to give you, the American people, a giant tax cut for Christmas. And when I say giant, I mean giant. As we speak, Congress has reached an agreement on tax legislation that will deliver more jobs, higher wages, and massive tax relief for American families and for American companies. The typical family of four earning $75,000 will see an income tax cut of more than $2,000, slashing their tax bill in half. It's going to be a lot of money. You're going to have an extra $2,000, but there are many more things than that. Our plan expands the child tax credit for working families. You'll hear the numbers very soon, but they're even larger than anticipated. It nearly doubles the amount of income taxed at the rate of 0. I don't know if any of you are paying 0. I hope you're not. I hope you're paying above that. But a lot of people who are having it a little bit tough are going to be paying 0. It closes special interest loopholes. It lowers tax rates for families. And our plan also cuts taxes on businesses, which is expected to raise income by an average of more than $4,000. So your income goes up. It's like having a $4,000 increase, which isn't bad, It's a lot of money to spend. A lot of jobs are going to be created with the money that you spend. Very special. And it makes America competitive again so we can bring back that simple but beautiful phrase. You've heard it before, made in the USA, right? I don't know if they've heard it, but you've heard it. Our current tax code is burdensome, complex, and profoundly unfair. It has exported our jobs, closed our factories, and left millions of parents worried that their children might be the first generation to have less opportunity than the last. Our factories have left, so many of them, gone, but they're all coming back. And you see it, even before we do this, they're starting to come back. Our country's starting to do really well again. And as a country, we're being respected again. We're being respected again. I'm here today to tell you that we will never let bad things happen with respect to the economy of our country. We're not going to lose our businesses again like has happened over the last number of decades. America is coming back bigger and better and stronger than ever before. Okay? They'll see it, and they're going to see the result. America isn't content just by getting by. America is about getting ahead, about finding the best in ourselves and in each other. We're reclaiming our destiny as Americans, a nation that thinks big, dreams bigger, and always reaches for the stars. We didn't become great through massive taxation and Washington regulation. And by the way, we are cutting regulation at a rate never seen before in the history of our country. We became great because our people, our families, and because of our freedom. We became great because of our drive to find the next horizon, to unlock the next mystery, and to begin the next adventure. You know what I'm talking about. And that's who we are, a nation of strivers and builders and dreamers and doers, people who treasure their independence and don't know how to quit. Never quit, never ever give up, never ever. I say that also to our great cabinet, and they've done a great job. A lot of things have happened. Nobody's done the job that we've done. When government loosens its grip, there is no summit we cannot reach. Our tax cuts will break down, and they'll break it down fast, all forms of government and all forms of government barriers, and breathe new life into the American economy. They will unleash the American worker. They will tear down the restraints on discovery, innovation, and creation, and they will restore the hopes and dreams of the American family. Millions of middle-class families will win under our plan. And today, we are honored to hear from a few of those wonderful and truly great families. Bryant and Ashley Glick, right? Are from Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. I know it well. They have two beautiful children with a third on the way. Bryant manages a farm equipment store. Ashley works in healthcare. This year, they were in the 15% tax bracket. Under our plan, they will drop to the 12% bracket. It's a big drop. Instead of itemizing their deductions, they will be able to file their taxes on a single little beautiful sheet of paper. That's good. That's good. And instead of paying $2,600 in income taxes, they will get it down to $2,000. They'll save at least $600 and probably more than that. Bryant, Ashley, how about saying a few words? You want to? Come on. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to be here. On behalf of the good people of Lancaster County, my family, and specifically my grandmother, Linda Martin, well done. Many of your predecessors promised that this reform was coming, but you did it. We are greatly excited about this. With the tax savings that we are going to see, we are going to put that money into home renovations. And I'm excited that you were the one that got it over the finish line. Thank you, Mr. President.
The Kovacs family also joins us today from Ohio. That's a great state. A lot of success in Ohio. Adam is a veteran who works in telecommunications. Lindsay works in administration, admissions at a university, and they have two beautiful children. This year, they're currently in the 25% bracket and pay nearly $14,000 in taxes. Our plan gives them their time back because they won't have to itemize, and it gives them nearly 1/3 of their money back, more than $3,500 for 1 year. I'd like to invite the Kovacs to explain what our tax cuts will mean for them. They've studied it very closely. These are very smart, sharp people. They know exactly what we're doing here, and they like it. Come on up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. It is truly an honor that you invited the Kovacs family to the White House today. This is going to be great for our family. We have home renovations that we want to take care of and hopefully save for our two children to go to college. Thank you so much, Mr. President.
The Giampolo family is from Polk County, Iowa. Anthony is a police officer, and Auburn is a 911 emergency dispatcher. When they're not at work protecting and serving their fellow citizens, Their hands are full with 4 wonderful children. This year, they were in the 25% bracket. They're itemized deductions, and they've done everything they can. They paid more than $19,000 in taxes. Thank you very much, by the way. That's a lot of money. I like to. Under our plan, they will file on a single page and save $2,700. Anthony, Auburn, maybe you'd like to say a few words. Come on in. Thank you.
Just want to thank President Trump. Education is very important to our family. Under this bill, our family will be able to save a lot of money. We have a lot of people going to school. My wife and I are both in graduate school, finishing up, and we still got 4 other kids to get through college, so it'll help out a lot.
Leon and Maria Benjamin are pastors of New Life Harvest Church, and it's a beautiful church in Richmond, Virginia, and they have 3 wonderful children. Under our plan, they will get a larger tax refund to help them pay their bills. They'll receive a tax refund this year of $3,000. Leon and Maria, I would love you to discuss your middle-class tax cut a little bit with the millions of people watching right now on television. You do very well. We're very proud of you, and it is indeed a beautiful church. I got to see a very, very nice picture. We'll have to get there someday soon. Thank you. Come on in.
To God be the glory. Thank you, President Trump, for inviting us here. On behalf of the Benjamin family and, of course, Richmond, Virginia, we represent a cadre of many families across the nation. African-American families, urban communities, and families all across need this now. And it's time for a change. And it's time that we recognize that our president is making good on his promises. Thank you, Mr. President. God bless you, and we'll continue to keep praying for you and your team as you move forward and forge ahead with this new future in America. God bless you.
He can be my minister anytime. The Howard family lives in Tenino, Washington. Isaac owns an espresso machine service company, and Emily takes care of their 4 beautiful children. They're currently in the 15% bracket and pay $2,500 in taxes. Our plan will totally wipe out their tax bill, and they might even get a refund of substantially more than $700. I'd like to introduce them. Come on up.
I'm going to speak for us today. We are absolutely blessed to be here. So thank you, Mr. President. It's our joy to stand before you guys. And what this means to us as a family is that we will be able to pour out into our community, whatever that looks like, giving away to families that are in need or setting them up for success in any way that whatever God has planned for our family. I think that is our goal, and we are blessed to have such an amazing president, and what a good steward he is of our country. So thank you, Mr. President.
Well, thank you all. It's critically important for Congress to quickly pass these historic tax cuts, and that's going to take place I think even before the media. I use the word media. Do you notice? As opposed to fake news media, I don't say. Because today is a very important day. We want everybody to be covered very accurately. So I'm excited to announce that if Congress sends me a bill before Christmas, the IRS, this is just out, this is breaking news, has just confirmed that Americans will see lower taxes and bigger paychecks beginning in February, just 2 short months from now. Okay? Just got that. We just got that. 55 years ago this week, President John F. Kennedy, a Democrat, launched a historic effort to pass sweeping, top-to-bottom tax cuts. A half a century later, we're reminded that lowering taxes is neither a Republican or Democrat idea, but an American principle and an American idea. The goal of my administration is for every American to know the dignity of work, the pride of a paycheck, and the satisfaction of a job well done. We want people to love waking up in the morning and going to work just with that incredible enthusiasm that we have in this country. And that's what we're going to be doing, and that's what's going to be happening. Today, we stand on the verge of a new economic miracle. Our economy has already surged to 3% growth, far ahead of schedule, by the way, far, far ahead, in each of the last 2 quarters. And if we didn't have the hurricanes, we could have hit 4 last quarter. 4, a number that was unthinkable 2 years ago when I started the campaign, and even my first month in office. That was an unthinkable number. And I'll tell you what, it's going to go higher than that. We've created 2.2 million jobs since the election. Unemployment is at a 17-year low. The unemployment rate in the manufacturing business is the lowest in recorded history. Consumer confidence is a 17-point high. Pensions and retirement accounts are soaring as the stock market hits 85 new record highs since the election. How are we doing? Are we doing okay? Not bad, right? And if Congress sends me a tax reform, this is only a small beginning to the incredible things that our people will achieve over a very short period of time, and the tremendous heights that we will reach economically and so many other ways in our country every day as this victory draws closer. I mean, we are so close right now, so close. In fact, almost, I don't want to talk about it. Maybe we shouldn't talk about it. The cynical voices that opposed tax cuts grow smaller and weaker, and the American people grow stronger. I heard one of our opponents stand up the other day and say, this is for the rich. They had no idea. They didn't even see the final bill. I didn't see the final bill. This is for the people of middle income. This is for companies that are going to create jobs. This is for very, very special people, the great people of America. Every day, hardworking Americans know that the future of this nation will never belong to those who say you can't. It will always belong to the American people who will say, we will. It belongs to people like the Glicks, the Kovacs, the Giampolos, the Benjamins, the Howards, and the millions of Americans just like them across our nation who pour out their hearts and souls every single day to take care of their families and the country they love and that we love. We are going to have a country that celebrates you again. Hard-working, great people. You're being celebrated again. Remember that. Because you were a little bit forgotten. We have caught the forgotten people. Somebody else called me and everybody else the deplorables. Have you ever heard that term? Right? We're proud to be the deplorables, and we're doing well. We're going to make our tax system work for you again. We're going to make our economy work for you again. And we are going to make the American dream. And that's the real dream. That will be the dream that you want for your children and your grandchildren once again. But we need your help to get Congress across that finish line. We'll have very little Democrat support, probably none. And that's purely for political reasons. They like it a lot. And they can't say it. They don't like what's happening, but they can't say it. Someday we have to come together and do bipartisan, and hopefully it can happen soon. Right? If you make your voices heard, this moment will be forever remembered as a great new beginning, the dawn of a brilliant American future. shining with patriotism, prosperity, and pride. With your help, we will bring back our jobs. We will bring back our wealth as a country. And for every citizen across this beautiful land, we will bring back our great American dreams. Thank you, and God bless you all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So Gloria Borger, as we stay on these pictures, I just want to begin with you, our chief political analyst here, and we'll get into the substance of the tax deal and the politics of this. But I mean, I think it's important just to note how powerful it was to have, the moments when the president would step away and allow ordinary Americans to speak personally about how this new tax deal would help them.
Right, and this is something that presidents have always done. And I think it's a good idea, because what it does is it says to the American public, here are real people with real families, and here's how much they're going to save on a tax bill. It's a very good way to sell it. You're not bringing corporate titans up there to say their corporate taxes are going to be reduced substantially. What you're doing is you're bringing families up there who are telling you what they're going to do with the extra money. And of course, it's very touching when one of those families says, look, we're going to take this money and we're going to give it away to help other people, particularly at this season. So, this is not a new technique, but it's an effective one.
Stephen Moore, how do you do?
Hi, I agree with Gloria. I thought that was a powerful moment, bringing up those families. It's been 2 years I've been working with Donald Trump on this, and we are so close to the finish line. It is true that a lot of families are going to save money on their taxes, but look, the bigger picture here is this is about growing the economy, making America more prosperous. As Trump was speaking, I was looking at the bottom of the CNN screen and looking at what's happening at the stock market. It's an amazing story, and the market just keeps going up and up. It really wants this tax cut. Gloria's right, businesses want this, their employers, and I think it'll be a powerful stimulus to the bill. One other quick thing, Brooke, is that he mentioned the growth rate of the economy. We are growing at now 3 to 3.5%, and I do think if we get this tax cut passed, we could potentially get 4% growth next year, which we haven't had that in a long, long time.
So here's the but. That being, sorry,
there is a but.
There's a but.
Come on, don't spoil the money.
Rana, you get this. You get this part of the conversation. Listen, Gloria said it. He could have brought corporate titans up there to have some warm and fuzzy story about how they're going to save all kinds of money with the corporate tax rate, down to 21%. So there's that. Also, though, with this new deal between the House and the Senate, they're talking about this, individual top rate going down to 37%. So the rich getting richer, Rana.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I'll, just to be contrarian here, I'll agree for a minute with Gloria and Stephen that it was a great moment in PR.
Yeah,
but it doesn't change the fact that this is really about corporate tax breaks. And, I was really struck by the president likening himself once again to JFK and making the point that tax cuts are a bipartisan thing. They've been done by Democrats and Republicans. That's very true. What's also true is that in the last 20 years, each time they've been done, either by a Democratic administration or a Republican one, they have not created Main Street growth. They will not do that this time. And so I have to say, I think this is one of the more cynical political speeches I've ever heard.
Well, and by the way, the American public doesn't like this tax bill. It's got, a 35% approval rating. And the question still remains, and you guys are able to answer this better than I am, which is, why do you need a tax cut? If the economy is so booming, why does the economy need to be stimulated?
And Gloria, you've hit the nail on the head. It doesn't. And a lot of people, in fact, I was just talking to a major Wall Streeter today at lunch. A lot of people are very worried this is going to create more of an asset bubble than we already have. We already know Wall Street and Main Street are totally disconnected. Folks are worried that we're going to see a market correction in the coming year. Now, whether it comes before or after the midterms will be very interesting. But this is all about giving corporations just a little more juice, helping them get a little more money to give back to the top shareholders, and hopefully push the president and the Republican Party past the spring midterm elections with this sort of mythology that, hey, what's good for Wall Street is good for Main Street. It's all going to end in tears, believe me.
Well, I hope
ahead,
not.
Stephen.
I mean, look, and so far you got to give Trump credit. I mean, the economy has boomed, the stock market has boomed since
Not
he's
because
come
of
in.
him.
A lot of Rana's friends, you know, used to say, oh, gee, there's no way. And I confronted this so many times, Brooke, on the campaign trail, on this station, debating a lot of liberal economists said, it's impossible, we can't get 3% growth, it's not conceivable we could do that. Well, we have 3 to 3.5% growth now. And Gloria, in answer to your question about why do this, is because we want the economy to grow even faster. And I would make, one of the points I made, I was on Capitol Hill all day talking to a lot of Republican lawmakers. I said, look, if you don't pass this tax cut, a lot of this anticipatory effect of this tax cut will go away and we'll see the economy shrink. But in my opinion, look, we could get a lot faster growth, Rana, and that's going to, there are a lot of areas in this country that haven't seen the growth. Places like, I was in West Virginia last week, and places like Kentucky and Michigan, Ohio, they don't think the economy is growing too fast.
It is the most disingenuous thing in the world to say that boosting stock prices, and by the way, 80% of stocks are owned by the top 20% of the population, that boosting stock prices is the same as creating jobs in Kentucky. Not going to happen. Two things are different.
But you keep making that point. This is really important. There are 55 million Americans, Rana, 55 million Americans who have 401k plans. There are 35 million Americans who have corporate, pension plans. There are another 25 million people who have IRAs. The idea that's not, I mean, since when has the Democratic Party become so anti-business? This is a pro-business tax cut. There's no question about it. But what's wrong with that? What's wrong with being pro-American business?
I'm a business columnist. A lot of business people I talk to are very worried that we are approaching this the wrong way. They say, look, corporations don't need any money. They have $2 trillion worth of cash sitting on their balance sheets. We need a social safety net. We are at the end of a recovery cycle. You're an economist. You know this as well as I do. Recovery cycles tend to last about 10 years. We're at the end of one. We're due for another recession. The president and Republicans are trying to get a little more juice out to carry them over the line past the midterms, at which point, oh, well, but I think real Americans are going to be suffering then with no safety net, higher taxes for a lot of people, and a market that will probably see a correction.
Well, and
we can
it's
talk about it in
take
6 months.
And it's going to take effect. It's going to take effect very quickly, by the way. Yep. So people are going to be stunned. They're going to be surprised, particularly ones who end up paying more in taxes are going to be surprised. So you're going to get the feedback of it pretty quickly.
Well, see, this is actually the point. You raise a really good point, Gloria. I mean, one of the important headlines of Donald Trump's speech is that they're going to change, Brooke, the withholding tables. That means that people are going to start getting this tax cut right away. And you know, when you ask the question, Gloria, why are a lot of Americans against this? I've seen a lot of those same polls because the media and liberals have been saying you're not going to get a tax cut here. And what's going to happen is when people actually see the reality of this and see how much, middle class families that make $60, $80, $100,000 and see how much money they're getting back, I think their attitude is going to be, wait a minute, people are lying to me.
State and local taxes and their home deductions.
But those are only.
But guys, when you have the president, the last time he was really talking on taxes, it was when he was saying, oh, my rich friends, that they're really not going to like me. This isn't good news for them. And when you see this individual tax rate now down to 37% from what was initially floated at 39.6, I mean, that's just. That's wrong. This is good news, and this apparently is part of Phil Mattingly's reporting. At the end of the day, this is specifically what the president wanted. He wanted the number being 37.
And the reason we did that, by the way, is because it turns out that about 2/3 of the people who are paying that 37% in that 37% tax bracket are small business owners. They're the employers of this country. And look, you can't have jobs without employers. We want American businesses, small businesses and corporations to do as well as they can so that there's a better, more prosperous economy with higher paying jobs for Americans. And look, we'll see whether this works. But Rana, it worked for Reagan, it worked with JFK. Why won't it work for Trump?
Stephen, we're gonna relitigate this. It worked for Reagan because many things were different in the economy at that time. You had women coming into the workforce. You had higher productivity levels, lots of room to grow. We have a very different economy today. Listen, I wish that this would work. I wish it was as easy as saying cut taxes and the economy will grow. The past 20 years have shown us a different story. And, I'll be waiting and fingers crossed, but I'm not hopeful.
Flashing up the markets. Markets are obviously reacting positively. Hold on. Speaking of Ronald Reagan, this is something the president said earlier.
It will be bigger than anything ever done in this country, bigger than the Reagan cuts, bigger than any cuts, and it'll also be reform.
Bigger than the Reagan cuts, not bigger than the Reagan cuts. It's actually, Trump says they are, but as a percentage of GDP, it's actually one of the most modest tax cuts in history. So Hashtag
also-
misleading.
Wait a minute, hold
Something
on.
else
You
that
can't have it
happened
both
under
ways,
Reagan.
though.
Something,
You can't.
something else that happened under Reagan is that we grew in the second term a huge deficit. That's the other part of this. That's why a lot of Republicans were very slow to get pushed into this deal, because they know, and the Congressional Tax Watchdog itself said this is going to create a very large deficit. That's something that Republicans have said, oh, we can't possibly go there. We can't have tax cuts that are going to create a deficit. That's exactly what's going to happen.
Well,
And we're
Ron,
digging
it must
ourselves
have
out
worked
of
pretty
it
well,
for the
Ron, in
next
the
couple of
80s, because
decades.
it must have worked pretty well, because as I seem to recall, Ronald Reagan slipped by in his reelection, winning 49 states in the biggest landslide election
Second
ever.
term,
And that was
huge
because the
deficit,
economy. That was
which
because the
Clinton
economy was
Rose
doing so
had
well.
to dig us out of.
Well,
What?
you know, Bob Corker, Senator Corker, this has been his biggest concern, and he's
Yep.
trying to get something in this bill that would make sure that there's some kind of a safeguard there. But our Manu Raju spoke to him today, and he said, I have all the same concerns that I've always had. So I think we have to stay tuned to see how he votes,
That's true.
and how a couple of other Republicans end up voting.